Happy what's today? Happy Monday to you. It's a Monday for you. I am Darian Shell, aka Nikki J. Yes, I'm just coming on here. I'm glad because it's out. So yeah, of course I'm gonna be out here trying to soak some of this weather is not my preferred type of temperature or zone or anything to be in, and so I'm here and it's a good day. I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy it like I do. And I had just wanted to get on here for a second. So just for you, so you know, like I'll call out names if guided to. I am a psychic medium. I have different ancestral, psychic, spiritual gifts, whatever you want to call them. Um, and I talk about a whole lot. Pretty much, I just press record and allow my thoughts to flow. And oftentimes, it's gonna be a whole lot of stuff going on. You might see me channeling. Uh, at some point in time, sometimes you might just, and like I can't never really keep a thought together all the time. Like if I get excited or whatever, if I try to tell a story and try to like keep it all together, then sometimes if I gotta add in details and shit to take away, and then blah blah blah. Like that's my thought. My brain be doing what it want to do, and so do it. And then I'll try to come back later and I'll be like, oh dag, like this whole message that I'm about to say now, it's because I'm like, okay, I haven't given back men enough credit. But I don't know what I'm saying about that. But before I want to start, I asked you guys, I was thinking about, well, I wasn't thinking about, which is, I do a lot of meditation and my thoughts just, um, for whatever reason, the thought that, like when I was in basic training, we our field on our field training exercises when we was out in the field for I forget how many days, like, and so like we would have to wear like our whole like depending on what kind of drills they was running or what we was doing, we would have to wear like man, we would just have to be like battle rattled up, right? And I remember like I was in Carolina South, Jackson, and co-ed, so you know us girls we trained with the guys, it wasn't no difference. And like all of our drill sergeants except for one was male, like, and they were all like infantry, parachute, everything, like everything that I was gonna, because I had to go, like as they was mentioning stuff, I'm like, oh, I can do that, like I can be a paratrooper, I can be a paraseller, like I can hop out planes and shit too, like yeah, and it sounded like it was gonna be fun. And I mean, I saw myself doing it and everything because I am a visionary, I am a seer, and like astral traveler, astral projector, like all that stuff, dream walker. And so like I actually saw myself like on the ground, like doing it, like period, like way ahead of time. And I'm realizing that I had like a lot of moments of, like that, like in basic training, whether I was asleep, whether I was awake, like I don't know, like damn, I don't know where it missed off. Damn, I don't know where it missed off at. So anywho, so like we was in the field or whatever, and it was cold. Like stop. Like I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and so like our winters is. I mean, we get like 3 months of good weather for real. Like other than that, it's. I mean, not like we get like 3 months of summer, like of sun, and then we get fall. Fall is cool, and then we get like 80 months of winter. No matter what, like cold, cloudy, like it's just way too cold and cloudy. Too many cloudy days here for me in a year. Uh, so South Carolina is different. Like it was different because we would be out. We would already be like, I can't remember if wake up was at 4 or we had to be up and ready in formation at 4. I mean 4:30, whatever, like whatever it was. So that's saying that like they used to be so proud of that, like we get more accomplished by 8 than most people do or whatever, like in a whole day. That shit was accurate, real accurate. And I ain't never really been a morning person. Like I don't really understand why somebody's supposed to tell me what time I'm supposed to get up and like my body ain't never really wanted to get up like in the day. Like I can be ending my day, and I used to say that like, no, I can be ending my day at like 4 a.m. But you like starting it, like what the hell? I don't know. Like even if I'm up, like even if I was in the house on the phone, like I was up. Like I was always a night owl for the most part. Like I hated getting up early. And like we could do it. Like the only time I really like getting up early is like if I was taking a trip, if I had like something exciting happening. Um so like yeah, so we would get up and like so basic training was there. I don't really think about basic training. I don't have like all my memories and stuff. They come in like scattered or whatever when they do come in. Like I got some of the basics. got some of the basics. But we was out in the field and like they would do stuff like whatever drills we was getting called. And so South Carolina is different like in the winter time. Like them jokers, it be biting cold and it's a different type of cold. So when we get up, it's like cold, it's cold or whatever. So we got like, we don't went to the PX and got like our little hand warmers and shit. Or like our little foot warmers, like to try to keep our hands warm, like in those biting ass hours. But by the time, and so like we out, we gotta go do PT or whatever. And then like so we put on all our daggone like all our gear, and it never failed. Like you can't even help it. Like you put on all your cold stuff, right? Like you layer up, and then by the damn middle of the day or whatever, like once the sun come up, it's like it go from being like biting cold to like hot as hell. Like the temperature influx used to be insane. Like so many people stay sick in basic training. So we was out in the field for field training, and it's the South, man. I ain't really ever really been a fan of reptiles for real, right? Like, nah, I'm cool with it. I'm cool. Like, I got to a place where like I done been to a place where like, all right, you over there, and I'm over here, like, and you don't got to come no closer. We don't really have to inhabit the same space, right? And like some of them be like real cute and stuff, but like I don't really need you touching me. So at this point in time, that's a woodpecker. Oh, she's a beauty. So this particular time, while we were out there, it was like the weather was changing. So it probably was like in March, like so it was like going from like winter into spring. Yeah, so it probably was like March by this time. And so like they were like, it was like so many baby geckos, and like, oh my gosh, they were so small and they seemed like they was everywhere. And I was like, I'm a city girl. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I love the country, like I love nature, without it having to be all that. And my ass used to be like, no matter what, everybody else was complaining because when we had to have on our gas masks and everything, like everything, everybody else complaining, and my ass over there like, yeah, I'm cool with this. Like I want to be covered because I don't want to be sitting on, like, we gotta be on the ground, we gotta be doing like whatever it is. And then like even when we not training, well, we out here, so even when we huddle up and we on the ground or like we in the trees and like we doing whatever, I'm like always, I'm like trying to tune out, but like acutely aware of all these damn lizards and shit, like geckos, and to me that was all just like unnecessary. My ass used to be scared, and that's when I found out I was allergic to spider bites. I don't think they figured out which type. I got bit by a spider and I had broke out like real bad. Man, basic training, my body was like, then they pumped us so full of chemicals and toxins and medications, and like that's like, man, that shit was just like, ooh, just the freaking, ooh. But I was like laughing at that because I'm like, hey man, I used to be terrified and wasn't nothing I could do. I just had to like kind of like take it out of my mouth. I had to like shut it down. Like you gotta adapt. I had to just shut it down. I hated it because I'm like, I'm gonna have to get used to this and we gonna be out in the field because they was already letting us know like, hey, coming out the gate, like y'all gonna be getting deployed. Cause I went in, well I signed up in 2000. Um, yeah, and like a lot of other stuff happened. So, um, and then like 9/11 and all of that. So they were deploying us like we was the last like yeah, it was chaotic. I mean, it. I ain't gonna say. I mean, it was basic training. Like the work, the physicality, like the physical and the mental, like the basic training part didn't really bother me, right? Like it was some of the extra shit. Like it was some of the people that was more the issue. Like I can do like all right, whatever. Like I ain't really this ain't the type of workout that I'm used to, but like I'm used to it. Like it's cool. And to be honest, like me, Tiff, and AJ, we man, I think like if I'm recall right, like Tiff and AJ was like maxing out with like Tiff was maxing out with the run, like she was keeping up with the boys. She was like on the boys side of the scale, PT scale, maxing this shit out on the run. Me, I was on the boys side of the scale when it came to like push-ups and like pull-ups and like that kind of stuff. I mean, I could do the sit-ups, but I always went for like the minimum, not necessarily the minimum, not necessarily the max. Like I ain't gotta max it out. I ain't gotta show everything. I ain't gotta show off. Like I hate sit-ups. I hated sit-ups always. Like, but like push-ups and pull-ups and like even running. I ain't want to run, but I got better. Like I started in. I think when we came in, we had to do like a run. Like they was just like assessing us. And I think at that point in time, we might have did like a mile or 2 mile run, cause a lot of times it was starting off at 2 miles, and then we kind of like when we did our PT test, it was a 2 mile run at that time, and it had to be like you were timed, and you had to hit a certain marker, and of course like in order to pass the PT test, like it's the minimum, and then it's the whatever, and then it's the max time or whatever, and then it's scored or whatever. And if you fail one part of the PT test, like no matter what, you fail the whole thing, you gotta reschedule and take it over. And that was the worst. Like, I'm like, damn, I don't know if I failed. And like at first, like in basic training, that at first they like, all right, it's whatever. And then like of course you expect it to meet. Like you would always expect it to meet. So it was like assessments at first. So I think coming in, I did like, I don't know, maybe it was like 20 minutes or something. And then yeah, I kept adjusting like certain things, and before then, like before no time, I was doing my 2 mile run, and maybe like I think my quickest 2 mile run time might have been like 15, 16 minutes or something. Like I think 14, 15 minutes. I don't know, because Tiffany her ass was out. She was out like lightning all the time. And AJ used to be a good runner too. I don't want to run. Like I don't really have to, for real. And I hated sit-ups. I just hated sit-ups. And so yeah, I ain't really care. Like I can max the scale. I can do the scale on the push-ups and whatever. And then like when it came to like the run and on the male side, like I can knock that out. And then when it came to like for the scoring and whatever, like the repetitions and the scoring. And then when it came to like the run, I mean like the run and the sit-ups, no, I'm really just like, I'm like, all right, how many the women supposed to be able to do? Like that's it. Even though I always did like whatever, like I ain't gonna do the bare minimum, but I'm gonna do like just enough. I'm gonna make sure my points is gonna add up or more. Like it depends. But I was like laughing at that. I was like, damn, I remember that shit. And we used to be like, anytime, because basic training and AIT. So when I was in AIT, I was training with like the Marines. Like we was training with the Marines. We had some Marines with us, training with us. When we got to AIT, and like we had like some reclasses coming in, so they had like different rank and stuff too, from like Army and Marines, and so it was like real cool because like once you got to AIT, like for the weekends you used to be able to get passes out into the town, and I was in Virginia at that point, and I was out with the guy. Like I was always kicking it with the Marines, because that was like my friend group at that time. I mean, I was in the Army, so of course like I was, and I'm always kicking it with the guys. Like, and of course like it's the military, like it was mostly guys anyway. And I like was always cool with the guys, like, and I made sure that I would check on them sometimes, like when I could like figure out, get their information and figure out where they were. Like I would check with them when they was overseas, when they was deployed, just tap it in, make sure they was okay. And then like they just started falling off, like I couldn't catch them no more, and I used to be like, damn. But like I know that like in my dream state, like I used to be over there with them, like talking to them, like in my dream walking or whatever, because we used to be wrestling and shit, like we used to be having fun. And even the same thing, like, well, I always got in trouble for my mouth, like even at basic training when I got I ain't graduated with my class. There was a whole lot of shit going on, like man, there was a whole lot of shit going on, and I got put back, I got put back like 2 weeks. Like I didn't care, like I mean I cared because whatever. So that means I had to repeat like 2 weeks of training. Like I had to add on like 2 weeks of training to like the basic, like, so whenever I was supposed to graduate, so I had to like repeat like 2 weeks of all the training rituals and stuff that we had did. Whatever. Like I was salty at first only because of standing on principle. Like nigga, I'm ready to go like everybody else. And also nigga, what? Like why we playing games? Like I don't want to do this because of the way it happened. Like why I'm getting punished for whatever, like all the shit that went down, and then just like biting the bullet, like whatever, like it is what it is. So then when I got to AIT, and I always was getting in trouble, like I said, from my mouth, because like I know some of them, like I mean some of it is just like you talk shit, and then like if you pop off and you get disrespectful, then like nigga, I can get disrespectful back. Like I don't care, you can't tell me that I can't say nothing back. Fuck you. Like I ain't really, I came from a different culture. Like you don't talk to me no kind of way. I'm already letting y'all get away with enough shit because it's the rules. Like you got to stay in a certain kind of boundary, and if you cross that boundary, like of what the collective is doing, and you start popping off your individual shit, then like now we got a problem. So that was that, and it was like so much other stuff going on in basic training. Overall, for me, it was cool. It was like the physical activity, like challenging myself. That was fun to me. Like all the tomboyishness came out of me. Well, I hate that word, like for real, but like all of my active me came out of me. Like I got to play around like with my physical fit girl, girliness again. Like so, playing in the mud, playing in the dirt, like all that, like it wasn't a big thing. Like it was cool. And so yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. I was like, dang, like I have come far, but not that far. Like I still wouldn't want to be like, oh, and it used to be so many. I'm like, good grief. And the crazy thing was like I didn't realize what it was at first because they was so little. And I remember like sitting on the ground and just like seeing like a bunch of their asses like scurry past. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like lizards, like it's baby lizards or geckos or whatever. And my battle buddy, like they just be like whatever, like it was nothing, because it was the same thing when we was in Virginia. Like I don't really gotta be around these little critters, like for my own personal self. And at AIT, one of my battle buddies was a white girl with red hair. Like, oh, that was my girl. And she was from down south. I think she was from Alabama. And she her ass was just as she would just be like anything that I didn't wasn't fucking with, she was the opposite. Like she was like, I mean, it's nothing. Like they not gonna hurt you. I don't care. Like how y'all know? And then it used to be like, I hate that saying when people be like they more scared of you than you are of them. Like how you know? Like you tapping into their feelings, you tapping into they nigga. Cause I'm scared too. Like just like they running away, I'm not gonna run away. But like yeah, like I want them to run away. I don't want them to come further. Like I don't want them to come closer. And then like sometimes we just have like staring contests with each other. Like hey, all right, you know, we just gonna, you stay right there. I'm gonna stay right here. Let me look at you. Let me, you know, let me kind of feel, let me just, you just be still. Let me see how I want to take this. Like, let me see if I'm good enough to allow you to come closer. And as we pounder in the moment that they ask, it's just, I'm like, no, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. Like, no, I don't like nothing that slither, nothing that scurry, nothing that creepy crawlies and shit. Like, not necessarily. I don't need to have them. And of course, when you in nature, like they there. So it'd be like, all right, how do we balance the scales? Like, give me respect. And also like me being respectful, like this your space, but this supposed to be my space too. And they like, hey, yeah, whatever. But they be listening, so that's cool. Like nature is cool. I prefer to roll with like the big dogs. Like I prefer to roll with my damn mammals, like my counterparts and shit. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next thing that I had wanted to mention. So I've been doing like, I know I've been like busting down on the lack in that I've experienced like in life and community and with men, black men particularly, because that's who I rock with. And I did want to take a second and clear some stuff up, like because I listened to high level conversations on one of them days. Keys did a video, like he was doing a live video, and I had popped in, and he said he was talking about black men in the community, like black boys, like, and I think something I mentioned, kind of like, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially how they get a bad rap and like stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I hate the whole comparison between like the men and women thing, like, because we all have our individual issues, and we all have our collective issues. And when you get to start, like, a lot of times they be feeling like it's a dismissal, especially like when black women start really speaking up. It's like black men be like, no, you can't speak louder sometimes. Like that, sometimes that be feeling like the energy, like they be wanting to assert themselves. And I'm like, and in a way of like pushing us out, like y'all good, y'all ain't got it that bad, we got it worse. Like sometimes it be feeling like that's the energy quite often, and that shit be pissing me off. And the same thing when it come to women, because it ain't no necessarily comparison really. Like nigga, we all fucked up for real. Not, I'm just saying, like, period. Like we all got our challenges, and they look different and they look the same. And like ain't nobody ever gonna tell me as a black woman that's been around like a whole lot of black women and been struggling a whole lot of ways, that like black women ain't being suppressed and repressed across the board, and being what's the word I want to, like, dogged and having way too much responsibility and having like less protection and stuff. Like ain't nobody ever gonna try to make me feel like what we say as a collective, as black women, individually and collectively, like that shit is just like minimal, or it don't matter, because it don't be seeming like nobody want to take responsibility for that. It just be like, here, we'll take responsibility for my shit too sometimes. And I don't really like that. Like, no, because it's like we already do. Like, from the time you come out, we wiping your ass and everything like that. And also, like, as a being anyway, like, we ain't often asked to be here, none of us, for real. Like, when they be like, you asked to come, no, I think that's, well, I think for a lot of y'all did, because y'all like this nasty shit. Like, and then for a lot of us, like, we really didn't. And just because, like, y'all need energy to fucking feed off of, like, for y'all shit. Like, y'all need a certain type of energy. Y'all snatching us out the sky, out the other world. Like, y'all done got real specific in y'all requests, because y'all need prey, essentially. Like, that's just how I feel. And I'm talking about as a collective of beings on this planet. And then also giving space for my black men and boys as well, simply because I had black brothers and black men that I love, black brothers that were more like my sons at one point, like, and everything like that. So, like, there's an empathy and compassion, and, like, I'm standing up for them too. I see y'all struggles and I see y'all shit too. And it seems like sometimes the things that get highlighted in black men the most is like physical violence, like their physical violence toward black women. And I'm not gonna say that it's not an issue, and I'm also gonna say that, like, it's not every man, it's not most men, it's not I don't think it's the majority of them either. Like, I mean, I ain't really took a poll. I'm just taking, like, my personal experience. Like, just how I have had, like, fucked up experiences, like, really messed up experiences with black men. I've had really good experiences with black men. So there are some things that I've never experienced, like, firsthand, and I have witnessed, like, other people experience. And so paying homage to that and respect to that, like, it's things that I don't get engaged in, or that I haven't touched on with my own self on one side of the coin, and then I've touched on it a different way on the other side of the coin. So, and being, like, so cool with, like, both males and females, oftentimes, like, no matter what, being able to see, like, the fine line in the middle, like, oh, okay. And so I do want to state that, like, there are cases where black men are violent toward women, and that ain't never really excusable to me, period. Like, and also, like, I'm not about to pretend like they not that they not human, like they don't get to freaking protect themselves and stand up for themselves and do whatever. Like, they are beings as well. So if you pop off certain ways and they pop off back, you know, and I don't think putting your hands on nobody just automatically, but, like, I'm talking about if you hit somebody back and they hit your ass, if you hit somebody and they hit your ass back, then, like, guess what? You got hit back. Like, and for me, it ain't no, like, oh, you get to hit me because I'm a man. No, keep your fucking hands to yourself. Like, I don't really believe in nobody teaching they women to, like, or I don't believe in teaching girls that they get allowed to just be hitting on boys and expect, like, the boys to just stand there and just take that shit. Like, no, thank you. And I don't believe in boys just, like, putting their hands on, like, it go the same way. Like, you don't get to hit her either. And don't ever put your hands on her first. Like, if you returning, if your reflex is somebody hit me, I hit their ass back, like, whatever. And then, because I remember that was a big thing, when, back in the day, when there was a celebrity couple, a young celebrity couple that had a physical confrontation, and it had got, like, real big, and, like, I was following the story only because it was, like, right there, and I'm like, dang, and I had compassion for her, like, and him, like, as a woman first, of course, my compassion, like, went straight to her, and then it was on him. Like, I got some new information, and then it was like, and then, like, I looked at him, like, first it was like, I can't throw nobody out and down the trash, like, because, like my brothers, like I said, like, my brothers, and understanding, like, shit happened, and also, like, wanting to be fair, like, okay, like, how do you How do you handle this? And so then it was like, well, the brothers and like the men in that family is going, or you know, like her protectors is going to pop up how they going to pop up, like however they going to pop up. And then I don't be saying like beat nobody either. Like if somebody hit your ass as a man, like if a woman hit you and your reflex, you hit her ass back, I ain't saying stump her to the ground or none of that shit. Hell no. And like if you snap and you hit her ass back off a reflex or a protection, like I got nothing to say about that. But just like it's deciding like, oh, I'm just gonna like put my hands on you just because I can, or like being a bully and then like I don't have enough control to catch it. Like if I do off a reflex hit your ass back, like I don't have enough control to like catch it. Like no. And also understanding like sometimes that's how you keep your hands to yourself, because you don't never know how far somebody gonna flip, because you don't know what they've been through always. You don't know what spiritual team they got behind them. You don't know what kind of ancestral trauma they got, like, and how close these ancestors and these spirits be to us to the top. So like, yeah, you might just want to be careful with certain ways that you handle people. And then like after shit happened, it genuinely be remorseful. Like I ain't mean to do, like, however that is, whatever that could be, like that remorse, that sadness, that hurt, that regret, and then like the guilt, and then the resentment, and then like depending on what's coming from the other side, like from outside as well, there's that too. So like I just remember like trying to pay like both homage, and at first I was like, well, because I remember just doing like a skip down like who her protection team was, and then like I'm like, I don't really know who he got like protecting him like this, and it's the first thing that's happening. Everybody wrapped around her as they should. And so at first it was kind of like, okay, things is happening, and then like it just seemed like that shit was just like going on and on and on. And then even as more information was coming out, it was just like, hey, what the fuck is y'all doing? Like after so much time, to me, I just felt like, all right, that's enough. Like, that's a fucking enough. Like, it's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration as far as like age, background, the situation, like what's happening now, like, and it was just kind of like, ain't nobody gonna hold him close either. Like that's somebody's kid too. Like all of a sudden you got somebody that's like you loved, and then all of a sudden like you nothing, you discardable, like you I don't know that and then like forever and forever and forever, like whatever y'all was gonna do, y'all made y'all initial, like whatever y'all was gonna do, y'all did it. Whatever y'all was gonna do, y'all popped off and did that shit. And whatever your initial response was, like that was what your response was, like as a individual and collective. Like you don't get to keep going back for seconds, thirds, tenths, 12ths and all that. Like no, you gonna cut the line off. So, and I be feeling like that across the board. Like sometimes people be just like, for certain things, especially like a first time incident or whatever, like people be like, I don't know. And then I've seen like other women leverage that. Now I'm off of that situation, period. But I'm just talking about like in my life, like experiencing, like seeing women leverage that. Like the first time an incident happened and like a man gets stigmatized because of it. Like I have also seen and heard of women, like, well, I have been very close to situations and heard secondhand of situations where like women will just like use that as their leverage for men, like no matter what, especially if they've been arrested, they got a record, or if it's out in the public. Like if he decided he want another woman, or he decided he don't want to be with you, or he decided he don't want to do nothing, like something that you want him to do. Like I've seen cases where women weaponize that shit forever. Like as long as they want you right here or whatever, like you need to be right here or whatever. And just like the scrutiny and like everything. And I used to be even telling like different dudes around me, like if it happened, like the young guys, like You don't stay with nobody that's hitting your ass. Like, first of all, because you don't want to be fighting in your relationship. Like, and as a male, as a man, they gonna pop your ass first. Like, you gonna be the one. You gonna be the one that's gonna get in trouble. And also sometimes like these women be abusive too. I have heard of some freaking situations and like been close to some situations where like chicks is like getting mad and the first thing they do, they want to buck up at the dude and like throw hands on them and like scratch them up and do all kind of shit. Like, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that at all. Like, hell no. Hell no. They ain't no damn punching bag. And I used to be telling my boys, like, y'all don't stick around for nothing like that either, because the moment that you like just thinking that you just taking it, and then when you get up, I mean, when you have enough and you finally like, when you snap, which will happen like with anybody, when you snap, like your ass gon' probably do some damage, and like you gonna get in trouble. You gonna get in way more trouble than her, because most times like when it's the dudes that's getting hit, they really hold that shit in. Like, they hold that shit sacred. They try to hold her as sacred as possible, or they might like say some shit to their family, like they closest people maybe, but most times they don't. Most times they just like let it go. They just kind of like take it. No, you ain't gotta take that shit. Like, her ass better get a fucking gym membership and go hit a bag or something, or she don't let nobody get to take their damn past shit out on you. They past traumas, they past shit. Like, hell no. Whether it was inflicted on them, they by their parents or another individual or another nigga that they was messing with, like, you ain't gotta take that shit. So that was so like I always stand up for my dudes too. Like, it wasn't just the women in my life, and it's the women, like, because and I used to tell people all the time, like, I'm a woman first, like, so of course that's gonna be my first response. And like, hey, you don't get to treat my boys no kind of way, like, ever. You want the utmost respect, you gonna give the utmost respect to them. In a lot of, and in many cases, like, I used to be like, I don't know, just like, hey, if y'all gonna be fighting, just call it quits. Like, call it quits until y'all can grow up, or just call it quits. Like, it ain't supposed to be there. And, you know, like, people listen or they don't. It's like so much advice I used to give, and it's like it's so much violence, it's so much it's a word I'm looking for, and it's before violence. Like, I don't even want to say animosity or anger, confrontation. No. Oh, what's the word that I'm looking for? Aggression. It's so much aggression sometimes, like, in our communities, depending on where you come from, and when they come from like boys that have had to witness like somebody put their hands on a mom or their caregiver or their sister or whatever like that. Like, I've seen men that just like go and protect, and I've seen men that I've seen men go and protect like that, which they should, like, protect their sister, and like never hit women. And then I've seen men who end up fighting back as a protecting thing, like, sometimes, like, and not even always understanding. So I'm like, there for me, there was always different layers that needed to be addressed, especially when you talking about like, it's our young boys and they coming up and they finally get out into the world on their own, and then whatever is happening, and then like all of a sudden they get introduced to a situation, and then whatever happened in the situation, like, this is the response. And this was the initial response. And I don't always think that, especially like if you claim that they was just such awesome good boys or whatever before, and especially if they was like whatever, like now all of a sudden they nothing, they useless, they trash, they whole reputation is in the garbage. Like, I don't think that should be a whole thing, especially if you just like it was a reaction, it was a response. Hey, I can't see you, where you at? And them being protective of themselves, like, hell no, you don't get to do that. Like, you don't get to do that at all. So my thing was always to talk, because when I had to talk to a girl, like, hey, like, I mean, whatever I had to say at whatever point in time. If it came down to like trying to check somebody too, and then there's been situations where I had to be like a little bit more gentle, a little bit more try to be a little bit more considerate, try to get like more information and try to figure out like what the hell, what blah 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 blah, like, and even checking it in, like, hey, because like some women just assume that like he not gonna hit you, so you take that shit for like, you just like, oh, okay. And it's like, so you know, like if he beat your ass, or like if he really go off on you, whether he hit you once or whether he beat your ass, like, your ass gonna be crying, you gonna be hurt, you gonna be fucked up, like you gonna be yeah, like, because especially if he physically strong, like if he's stronger than you and he gonna beat your ass, like, yeah, that ain't acceptable. And I meant it. I mean it, like, cause you find out like a woman just been like putting her hands on a man, or like doing all kind of shit, like beating his ass or doing whatever. Cause let's not pretend that it don't happen, especially when you teaching them to be to allow it to happen. Like, who the fuck? No, that ain't how you teach your girl to be a warrior. Like, no. So when you trying to teach your son to stand there and take abuse, and then they take it, and then when they finally flip out and beat somebody ass, like now everybody like, oh no. And then oftentimes like he ain't say nothing, he probably still won't, because he trying to protect her, and like all this stuff. And for me, I'm like, I get it. So I understood both of them, and I'm like, no, like, you could try, yeah. So that was always like walking a fine line for like an individual basis. So that's why always you just be like, hey, keep y'all fucking hands to yourself, because whatever response you might want from an individual or collective, like in support or defense or protection, like, you may or may not get, just because like he a person too, like, shit. And that was that. So like, I just thinking like, yeah, black men have their flaws, a lot of them, and to me, I feel like that they don't know how to, sometimes they don't know how to accept them when people saying something, or they don't want to, take accountability. That's a good word for their lack of proper individual and collective leadership and roles and protection and whatever in our community. And also understand that like, yeah, whatever role models they had, there's that too, like whatever experiences, whatever role models. So our ancestors ain't really did a total excellent job at making sure that like we was well-rounded and in a bunch of ways, especially depending on like where you from, what you were exposed to. Like, you ain't always properly protected and educated and prepared for some things either. So you just got to go out here and figure it out. And unfortunately, like, we have lived in environments that have been so adamant on stifling women and controlling women and everything else. So of course everything else is gonna go down. So that's why women need to be back in leadership, and as they should. Like, and when I say that, I mean just like over their lives, because a lot of reasons we have a lot of issues, for in my opinion, is because like everybody want to try to put men, no matter what, like black men, like, so they don't put these fucking whack ass white men in charge, and like that's the example for whatever reason. So y'all let these niggas do that, and then so like now y'all need to feel in charge over something. So now y'all feel like y'all supposed to be over charge. Like, yeah, no, we be following they shit way too much. Like, we be following the most corrupt, messed up systems and cultures like ever, and wonder why like we getting the results that we get. And I've been saying that for forever. Like, yeah, of course our shit messed up because we trying to copy paste that shit over here. Like, and then we want to keep guzzling and guzzling and partaking, and wonder like why our community be messed up. Cause like whatever they do, it ain't for us, it's theirs. And then y'all be wanting to fight about it and like defend it and be mad and be angry and go after people when they say something different. I just like, yeah, you fucking idiots. Whatever, like, have it your way. Cause I don't think everybody the same. We all are incredibly different. Like, and because don't nobody want to move away, don't nobody want to be bold enough to be alone or to walk their own individual walks for real and go find their true tribes. Like, y'all be stuck trying, we be kind of stuck trying to make everybody culture the same, trying to fit the same shit in. It's like, no, whatever y'all want to do over there, just do it over there. And we can even all be mixed up and do whatever we gonna do. But cause like, but y'all want everybody to do shit y'all way because y'all be so scared. Y'all know that shit ain't right. Y'all be so scared. Y'all be so scared to hold on to some shit. That's how you know you ain't supposed to have it, because all that shit is fear-led. Fear-based, fear-led on every part of it. Every part of it. Every part of it. All that shit is way too wrapped up for niggas' identities. Like, I don't know. Let me not go off on no rant and ramble. I ain't want nothing though, like, cause just like I love black women, I love black men. That's why black women are my soulmates, cause they are like me. I'm my biggest soulmate. I'm my biggest cheerleader. I'm my biggest twin flame. Like all the whatever counterpart. Like I'm the fucking bomb for me. Like I know I'm all that. So of course, like anything that come from me is gonna be the same. And that's how I look at black people. Like when I come across them, like, hey, beautiful, hey, awesome, like, all right, let's just adjust a couple of things, and so we can all be at our best and we can all be cool. And then from there it just kind of like keeps flowing out into the atmosphere, out into the world, out into like everybody else. So I ain't really gotta hate nobody else unless I gotta hate somebody else. Like, I'm just like, no, I want everybody to move the fuck out the way and let me do my thing. And then, like, naturally, we don't really try to keep y'all out. But I don't really want nobody in my shit unless you're supposed to be there. Like, unless you for mine and me and mine. Because, like, a lot of other cultures done started that they followed the white people's lead. And being disrespectful and oppressive to us, and like, the way the pale people across the board be acting, like, nah, that's why I be like, nah. So I'll be like, I'm gonna focus on me, and then like when it's supposed to be somebody else, that they automatically come across, because I got some of my people that, you know, that I like, of other cultures, like of other ethnicities, and that brought me something, because like something else Keys had said in the conversation, like he was asking about it was other demographics end up coming up, and like the word Indian came up, and immediately kind of sort of like I was trying to figure out like what one of my spirits was trying to say, like figure out, but it was another conversation going on. Like he was talking, and then when he said the word Indian, it hit one of my spirit guides, and like my brain started going, but I was trying to also listen to the rest of the conversation. So like the word Indian, the original tribes of this land, there were many different tribes, and then you had tribes that were like the original people of the earth were already nomadic people. Like I know y'all like to talk about like the 60s or whatever, the 50s, the 60s, where like they got hip to mushrooms and they was like all out, like the nomads and all of that, like whatever they call them, the villager, I don't know, like village people or whatever the hell, like that used to be like out. I forget the actual term that they used to call them, but like, yeah, we was already doing that naturally, like across the world, across the earth, like the world was ours. And because it was land in abundance, like, anywho. And then when you think about the fact that like the original Asians are black, period, like the land tells the story. Dark, black, we black, they black. In India, like the original Indians are dark. So when you think about how like we were already Roman, like that's in our DNA, that's our blood, that's in the world, that's in the earth. So if my ancestors were like, not no if, but like my ancestors were Roman, so at some point they lived here and some point they lived here, like they was traveling with the cycles, they was traveling with however they was told to travel, like guided to travel, like the world was ours. We wasn't so damn stuck on being in one place around like people that we ain't have to be around all the time, like transient, like we were actual transient beings. And so when you say Indian, I'm laughing because I'm like, I know I got a channel message like, hey, the world is yours, like the universe is yours, it's set up for here, like, yeah, your people came here for you, period. And you here, so Asia got to be here, because Cleveland has a very huge Asian population, like very huge representation of Asian populations, like, period. And I'll go like Asian cuisine across the map is like one of my favorite types of cuisine. Like that's what really resonates in my being the most, like that type, like the spicy, like, period. And I know that's also skipped across like other countries, like other African countries and things like that. So because like we take our culture and everything everywhere. And so like I was hearing the word Indian, when he said the word Indian, what literally clicked is like, because Indian food is like one of my favorites actually. Excuse me. So when he said the word Indian, what literally clicked was the channel message, and I was like, well, of course you was here, so Asia has to be here, because you have to be able to have access to Asia. That's your birthright. I'm like, okay. And then it was like Indian, the original Indian, like when he said Indian, it's like, yeah, it's me, like, duh, me, like, and go darker. And then it was like how when we say like stolen identities and like the change of like the lies of like times being changed, maps being changed, like written records, like if you let the lion tell the story, the niggas gonna lie, right? I mean, if you let your enemy tell the story, then like they gonna lie, they gonna make themselves the winner, the victor tells whatever. So I'm like, so I don't really believe in a lot of stories these days at this point. Like my mind has been like trying to dismantle so much shit that's keeping us like in bondage to me. Freedom is the goal. So when he said India, and then all of that came through, and then I was like, okay, darker. And then it was like, and then it kept going further, because it was like, it was just unraveling. It was like, yeah, so how we give away privilege and power, and how we allow them to have like access, because like a lot of the quote unquote indigenous and like native lands, like those wasn't the native people and original people, and like even their records and history will tell you that. Like that's why they ass is always burning records and burning shit, because they already will tell you through their documentation and their stories, and the stories that were passed down through us as well, is that when they came and brought like they mass weapons of destruction or they unfamiliar weapons, because you know them niggas can't fight, they can't do nothing, so of course they gotta create like guns and shit like that for like them, like, because they gonna get their ass whooped any other way. Like, they gotta have something outside of them every time to win anything, like anything. So if we got swords and arrows and things like that, and then you come in with like cannons and grenades and guns and other shit, like, of course we like, nigga, what? Like, oh, you can't fight? Like, you can't challenge me? Like, they have no culture of integrity, like, okay, like responsibility, accountability, and like, no, nigga, like, you can't have it. Like, you can't have it. They just thieves. They steal. They're gonna take it by force. So with that being said, it was like we know that like literally they went in and they stole in the land and like the identities of the native people, and then whitewashed it, like through raping the women, through whatever, like they you look gorgeous by raping the women, by just saying like, just by putting their names and changing the identities, and by intermarrying. Like, that's why I'm like, no, because y'all can't be trusted for me. Like, and it's like I keep getting like other cultures, that's like other ethnicities sometimes coming through, like, them niggas is a problem for everybody. Well, they not saying like, but that's how I'm gonna translate it, like, they are a problem for everybody, because like that's not representative of their cousins everywhere else. And I'm like, oh yes it is, because if y'all ain't came in and like decided to shut shit down and like take them out, then like y'all part of the problem too. So whatever. So there's that. And then so just like changing like all of the information and stuff on like the birth certificates, the land deeds and everything, and then putting a people in certain spots, and then claiming like, this is what it is and this is what it is. How you doing? I'm good. I love that daggone hair color. Okay. That is such a cute color with your skin. And so since we know that happens, I'm like, the original name of like the baseball team and like other stuff was like the Indians, right? Indians, us. Like, it's telling you who was already in the land and who the land was modeled after and everything. Like, we was here, Indians. And then they asses, somebody decided that like it was offensive for like the baseball team to be called Indians, and then they wanted to change it to the Guardians, so they changed it to the Guardians. And whatever, because I'm like, the stuff that, and if you think about even the stuff that like really niggas really want to go playing around with, the first thing they do when they get some money, when they get a little bit of control, they want to go changing names, they want to go messing up borders, they want to go like creating new lands or creating new territories and kicking people out. Just like, it's just the effective of what they do. So I was like, okay, like that was another way for me of them saying like, that was another way for me of saying that go in and like change names and change like all the no matter, like, just even look at what Trump is doing now. How you doing? And I was like, so one of the things they did was like do a petition, like all these, I think it was like it was supposed to be like a lot of people saying like the Indians on the stadium, like the name the Indians or whatever was like derogatory and blah 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 blah, and like all this offensive shit, so they wanted to change it, and so now it's called the Guardians. But I'm like, and then when you look at like who actually on the baseball team or whatever, like, to me it's like that. For me, what came across was like how we just be like essentially whitewashing ourselves out or supporting the whitewashing of our identities by like very superficial stuff. Like we get caught up on the mm, what's the word, like in the emotion of it all, or like the manufactured emotion of it all, and then we get like fake outrage, and it's like, are you really? And so assisting in our in the thievery of like all the things that of our identities and stuff like that, especially thinking about being here in Cleveland and just the the history, just as far as I know, since I've been like alive in here, not even going too far, like all the things that come across, all the news and stuff that come across, that like it's certain places you don't go at some point in time, and they say, like, they try to pretend that like, oh, it's not the same. No, they still be having them same reputations as far as the racism, and knowing that, like, and even it ain't, I'm 42, and this wasn't too long ago where you still hear about like niggas burning crosses in certain parts of the town, or like certain parts of the city. You ain't really don't nobody want to move over there because they know it's like still certain. And then you got people that like try, like, started moving somewhere, just like, yeah, just like all that energy that still be happening, that shouldn't be happening. But when he was saying that, was saying like Indians, like that's the first thing that came through, like Indians, that's us. Um, and when you think about India, like we be naming stuff, we be telling ourselves, we be leaving us clues, and then we allow somebody else to come in and like take the clues away from us. So there is that. And I think I'm gonna leave that alone. I gotta go pee.